Michael Phelps removed one word from his vocabulary and then went on to become the most decorated Olympian of all time and the greatest swimmer of all time. And in this video, we are going to take a look at what that word is and why you should remove it from your own vocabulary and what it has to do with your potential and your ability to reach that potential. Now, as with videos in the past, we are going to go through this X article that I wrote on this topic, literally published it today. I'm gonna just get ahead of this while I can, because I know there's gonna be people in the comments, and I see it online too all the time. Yes, Michael Phelps was born with a certain set of skills, predispositions, genetics. He was born with a swimmer's body. There's no doubt about it. It's 100% evident, just the way that his body is constructed. It was made for swimming. But Phelps paired his luck of the draw, which was genetics, with an incredible work ethic to then go on to become the most decorated Olympian of all time. Like Michael Phelps's work ethic, his mindset, a lot of that, which he credits, by the way, to his coach, Bob Bowman, paired with the stuff that he was born with, resulted in him becoming the greatest Olympian of all time. If Phelps didn't work as hard as he did, it didn't have the mindset that he did, he would not have become the greatest Olympian of all time. Maybe he would have been a very good swimmer just based off of his genetics alone. But certainly without the hard work, he would not have reached the heights that he did. So I just want to say that because I know there's going to be comments saying, well, Phelps was just genetically gifted. Yes, he was 100%. I agree. But his hard work is what put him over the top. Now, looking at the article, one of my favorite stories about Michael Phelps has almost nothing to do with swimming. It has to do with one word. When Phelps was young, his longtime coach, Bob Bowman, essentially removed the word can't from his vocabulary. Bowman believed that the moment Phelps said he couldn't do something, he had already made a decision about his limits before giving himself the chance to discover what they actually were. Phelps explained it like this: "One of the coolest things Bob said to me as a very young kid, he removed the word can't from my vocabulary. He basically said, if you're saying you can't do something, why are you here? Why are you wasting your time? Do something else because you've already made the decision up in your mind that you can't do it." That was something that helped me believe I could do things that other people had never dreamt of or were too afraid to dream of. What I like about this idea is that it isn't really about blind optimism. It's about understanding how quickly we turn uncertainty into a conclusion. When we say I can't, we're often not describing reality. We're deciding what reality is before we've tested it. Real quick on this idea of uncertainty, I'm a firm believer that whoever can endure or accept uncertainty the most is the one that is going to be the most successful, because oftentimes success just boils down to how much uncertainty can you endure, how much uncertainty can you accept and still keep pushing forward. That's the part that makes anything that makes it difficult to go after anything worthwhile, right? Whatever your definition of success is, whether it's creating a following online, whether it's becoming an amazing swimmer, whether it's becoming the greatest Olympian of all time, like whatever your definition of success is, whatever you want, like maybe it's entrepreneurship. The difficulty is that you can do all the things. You can work hard. You can copy what everyone else has done, but it still doesn't guarantee you success. It gives you a shot, but it doesn't guarantee you success. And then along the journey, there's gonna be so many points of uncertainty, so many moments of doubt. Like I've certainly experienced this where it's like, man, like what am I doing all this for? Like, is this really worth it? What's the point of all of this? Like, am I even gonna become successful? Am I gonna reach the heights that I think I can? Like, what if it doesn't work out? Like there's so many of those thoughts that circulate around in your head, and that's what makes it difficult. It really is you versus you at the end of the day. And if you can just get past yourself, if you can just get past the uncertainty and focus on the actual work, focus on the stuff that will actually move you forward. If your goal is to reach a certain number of followers online, then the work is just putting out content and putting out quality content and becoming 1% better with each piece of content that you put out, right? That is the actual work, right? Ideating, thinking of new ideas, scripting new videos, all that stuff is the actual work. But then those seeds of doubt, they're still there. They still exist. And so if you can just get past those moments of uncertainty, that's when you reach the other side. And that's when you start to understand that at the end of the day, this entire time, it has been you versus you. And that is like, you are your main obstacle. Like you are your number one competitor. I've seen it with other people. And that's why I talk about it here as well. It's like, it's not really blind optimism. It's about understanding how quickly we turn uncertainty into a conclusion. We think just because things are uncertain that it means that things are not possible, right? Just because I don't know if I will become successful does not mean that I will not be successful. It just means that I don't know. In this very moment, I don't know. But that should not stop me from doing the work, from doing the things that can push me, that can propel me towards that goal. Anyways, continuing on, I say Bowman made that distinction even clearer during Phelps's training. Phelps remembered seeing brutal workouts and telling Bowman he couldn't possibly complete them. Bowman would correct him by saying there was a difference between can't and won't. Phelps recalled, there's a difference between can't and won't. Maybe you won't do that, but you can. If you say can't, you're restricting what you can do or ever will do. And Bowman gave him plenty of opportunities to test that belief. Phelps describes doing nearly 2 miles of nothing but butterfly and later freestyle workouts stretching roughly 7 miles. Eventually, he would reach a point where his vision was blurry, his body felt like it couldn't move, and everything inside him was telling him to stop. Then he discovered that he could keep going. That is an important distinction because confidence isn't created by standing in front of a mirror and telling yourself you're capable of anything. Bowman had another saying that captured this perfectly. You can't dream up confidence. Confidence is born out of demonstrated ability. This is interesting because, and I've spoken about this before on the podcast. So Luke McCown came on my pod and he spoke about how Sean Payton essentially word for word said the exact same thing. Confidence is demonstrated ability. If in the case of a quarterback, Luke McCown, if he throws a 40-yard touchdown pass in practice, that should give him the confidence that he can go out and repeat that he can do that again. Like that's what actually gives you confidence. Like, oh wow, I can throw a 40-yard touchdown pass. Perfect. I'm now confident that I can do that again. That, and I've spoken about this before. There's that school of thought, and then there is the delusional confidence, right? The confidence that you have before actually going out and doing the thing, believing in yourself without any evidence. And I feel like those two are different schools of thought when it comes to confidence. And some people lean into the delusional confidence, and then others lean into the I need to prove to myself that I can do this before I'm confident. And I've been trying to wrestle with like which idea is better. I don't think that I think I'm looking at it from the wrong lens, from the wrong perspective. I don't think that there is a certain idea or school of thought that is quote unquote better. I think ultimately it comes down to you and what works for you. If you can be delusional about your confidence, if that works for you, if you can truly feel confident about doing something you've never done before and that works for you, and then you go out and you perform better because you have all that confidence, then great. If you need to prove to yourself that you can go out and do something before you're fully confident, then that works as well. The only thing I'd say with the whole proving, demonstrated ability school of thought is like you need a certain, like there's a minimum level of confidence that you need before you can actually go out and do the thing. Otherwise you wouldn't do it, right? You just wouldn't, you wouldn't feel confident enough. And it would also it would impact your performance. So like the only thing with like the school of thought of demonstrated confidence is demonstrated ability is like you need to have some minimum level of confidence to be able to go out and do the thing and then prove to yourself that you can do it. And then that reinforces you being able to do it. And now you're more confident and you go out and do it again. And it's like this circle that keeps repeating, and ultimately you just become the super confident version of yourself. So that is my rant on confidence. It's a super interesting topic, by the way. There's lots of different schools of thought. Ultimately, in my opinion, and this, I feel like I've been pretty consistent with this, with anything that relates to athletes and their ideas and advice that for life or for anything, is like do what works for you. Like that's what I try to do with this podcast and with this content. I try to bring you the information of like, hey, this worked for Phelps, this worked for Jordan, this worked for Jerry Rice. But ultimately, like take all those nuggets of wisdom and then apply them to your own life, and see what works for you. And then what works for you, just keep that and keep doing that, because we're all different. Like what worked for Jordan or Phelps or Jerry Rice or Kobe Bryant is different, right? That's why they all have their different schools of thought. That's why they all have their unique mindsets and unique perspectives, is because different things worked for those different athletes. And the same is, for you and I. Like what works for me, it probably won't work for you, or maybe it will. Maybe we share some commonality, but we're not 100% going to be aligned with everything that works for us. So that ultimately is my advice. Just do whatever works for you. All All right, confidence is born out of demonstrated ability. So first you refuse to place an artificial limitation on yourself. Then you do the work necessary to collect evidence that you're capable of more than you previously believed. The more I studied great athletes, the more I know versions of this exact philosophy. Michael Jordan grew up with almost the same rule, and driven from within, Jordan described a philosophy that existed inside his family. You can never say I can't around our family. How do you know you can't? Go try it. That was a slogan for us. If you try, then you can't fail. You have failed if you don't try. You only have one life. Don't allow somebody else to live that life for you. That mindset makes one of the strangest decisions of Jordan's career easier to understand. At the height of his basketball success, he walked away and tried professional baseball. He had no guarantee it would work. In fact, there were plenty of reasons to believe it wouldn't. But that was almost beside the point. The philosophy wasn't that every attempt would end successfully. It was that you shouldn't declare yourself incapable of something before actually finding out. Steph Curry arrived at a similar lesson from the opposite direction. Instead of having a coach remove "can" from his vocabulary, Curry spent much of his early career surrounded by people giving him lessons he supposedly couldn't become great. By giving him reasons. He supposedly couldn't become great. He didn't look like a typical elite basketball prospect, and he wasn't recruited like one. Curry later said, I had to develop habits of positive self-talk to encourage myself because there were plenty of voices telling me no. He continued, the worst way to fail is to lose what makes you different because you're too busy trying to be someone you're not. Find strength in what sets you apart. It's your superpower. That's an important addition to the idea because belief doesn't mean convincing yourself that success is guaranteed. Curry's not saying everyone who picks up a basketball will make the NBA. He's saying you shouldn't allow other people's assumptions or your own to determine the outcome before you've done the work. And this ties in a little bit to what I was saying before about listen, just because you do the work does not guarantee success. Does not mean that you will make the NBA or that you will become another Steph Curry. At the end of the day, there's only one Curry, and he's currently playing in the NBA. If you're not aware. But what it means is you need to be able to, you need to do the work to find out what your own limit, what your own potential is. You shouldn't assume what that limit or potential is. You shouldn't make assumptions about where you can go or how high you can fly. I mean, flag for a better phrase. The work will show you that. The work will set that limit, will set that potential for you. If you just keep doing the work, I just love this idea, and Hormozi talks about this a lot. Alex Hormozi, entrepreneur, fantastic, by the way. I love his content. If you haven't checked him out, you definitely should. He talks about this work, work, work. There's nothing but the work. People want to get caught up in all these different things. At the end of the day, all you have is the work. And ultimately, even if you don't reach this, self-determined level of success, this level of success that you have set for yourself, or this goal that you've set for yourself, you will learn more about yourself. You will become a better person just by doing the work. I've learned so much about myself by just posting and creating content that I wouldn't have found out otherwise. If I hadn't done that, at the end of the day, there's that phrase where it's and I forget the exact phrase, so I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, but the work works more on you than you work on it. And I just fully believe that. You just find out so much more about yourself by pursuing a goal, by pursuing some challenge. And it could be anything. It could be running a marathon. It could be creating content. It could be creating a business, whatever it is, just pursuing something meaningful and something challenging. You learn so much about yourself, man. I swear, it's wild. Kobe Bryant thought about uncertainty in a similar way. Rather than constantly wondering whether things would work out, he believed that worrying about the eventual result was largely wasted energy. There are times when you're going to succeed and times when you're going to fail. So wasting your time doubting whether you'll be successful or not is pointless. You put one foot in front of the other, control what you can control, and then see what the outcome is. Again, this ties back to what I was just talking about. Wasting your time doubting whether or not you're going to reach your goal is pointless. You just do the work and then you see what the outcome is. Kobe Bryant put it beautifully. That might be the most practical version of the entire philosophy. We spend an enormous amount of our lives trying to predict whether something will work before we've accumulated enough evidence to know. Can I build this business? Can I become good enough? Can I make the team? Can I create something people care about? Can I actually make a living doing this? Sometimes the most truthful answer is simply, I don't know. But I don't know is very different from I can't. I don't know leaves the door open for experimentation. I can't closes the door before the experiment even begins. Phelps summed it up perfectly. If you put a limit on anything, you put a limit on how far you can go. I don't think anything is too high. The more you use your imagination, the faster you go. If you think about doing the unthinkable, you can. The point isn't to pretend that limits don't exist. They obviously do. Not every goal is achievable, and belief alone doesn't make reality bend to your will. The point is to make sure you actually reach your limit before declaring where it is. maybe one of the simplest changes we can make is replacing "I can't do that" with "I don't know if I can do that yet, then go find out." Um, I truly think that, and to wrap up this video, and I said this at the beginning, you are your own biggest enemy. Like, I don't think many people realize that. And I don't think, and if they do realize it, they don't realize the extent to which they are their own enemy. I certainly did not realize it, again, until I started pursuing something challenging, trying to build a following online and trying to share valuable content with my audience and with people, and trying to connect with others who resonate with the message and with what I'm trying to do. You just do not realize how big of an obstacle you are to yourself. And that's why I wanted to create this video on Michael Phelps, talking about limits and how you shouldn't put a limit on what you can achieve. Do the work. As Kobe Bryant said, put one foot in front of the other, do the work, and then see what the outcome is. And that's what Phelps said. Like, don't put limits on yourself. Like, you never know truly how far you can go. And obviously there are physical limits, right? Like laws of physics. There are certain laws within our world that, I can't just get up and fly. That's certainly not possible. But I do think believing in yourself, confidence, not putting a limit on how far you can go. At this point, I'm just repeating myself, so I'm going to wrap this up. But I just think that last line that I said, like, maybe one of the simplest changes we can make is replacing "I can't do that" with "I don't know if I can do that yet, then go find out." If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, comment, let me know what I can do better to make these more entertaining for you all, or just better in general. Always open to constructive criticism, or any sort of criticism for that matter. I try to respond to each and every comment. And so, like I say, if you really like the video, feel free to give it a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I put out content like this all the time. I have a podcast, the Victor Degree Podcast. All of those podcast episodes are on the same channel, so make sure you check those out as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day.